Hey everybody, it's Alabama Deep. I'm coming back, and I have a request from one of my viewers, and with such, I will now dispense the video now. So I had a viewer, and he was wanting to know the difference in these super clone Rolexes that are being made and the real deal. Well, I have the real deal, but I don't have it in 3135. I do have the super clone movement in 3135, but I have vintage Rolexes, so mine's more like 3130 and blah 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 15.0 whatever. So yeah, I won't be able to necessarily show a side by side comparison, but I can show you what the super clone movement looks like. I can tell you about it. Is it worth buying, etc., etc., etc. And I have all these little pictures to go by here on my wall that tell me all about the Rolex spring mechanisms and all of that. So you probably couldn't see that worth a shit, but that's okay. I will dispense the information that I have with you now. So this viewer, he was wanting to know about the super clone Rolexes, and I can tell you a little bit about that. Okay, so you do have some movements out there that are called triple A's. Okay, and this would be a triple A. This is a triple A sub. So he's wanting to know what a super clone looks like. Well, a super clone is going to look just like this watch. This watch is supposedly a 2006 to 2007 Sub Mariner. It does look like it. It does match up, except for you can tell the difference right here. A lot of the subs that I see have the more pointed edges right here, so you can tell that's an obvious fake by that. The Cyclops magnification bubble, you really cannot, because that is a pretty good magnification on there. And I'm not even sure. Let me get over here to this side. Yeah, you can see the magnification on that does pop out. So, you can't really tell this is a fake to those that don't know much about a Rolex. It does have the indications on it. It has the repeated serial numbers on all the fakes. It does have the bracelet, and the bracelet does look good. This copy itself does look good. It's a good copy. This is a good copy, and you really can't tell the difference in them. They are getting that good. So let me put my sub back on my wrist. Okay, now I can tell you. And, I can do a comparison. Look at me. Okay, I have an actual Submariner here. Now, you do have different models. So, this is going to be a completely different model than what this one is. But, or it's supposed to be. This is a 2006, 2007, supposedly. It's not. This is a genuine Rolex side by side. You cannot tell which is the fake, which is the real. It is impossible to be able to tell the difference in them. And this is one that I am actually working on. But side by side comparison, you can't tell the difference. I surely cannot. You just have to look at the little intricate details. Because, it could be a different year. It could be a different variation. And just, you don't want to call someone's watch out as being fake unless you're 110% sure that it's a fake. Like he's trying to sell it to you or something like that. So anyway, it's very hard to tell. And these super fakes that they're selling, the super clones, is that when it comes to the gold on the watches, I've seen them a couple different ways. I've seen them where it's actual gold. Now, of course, it's not going to be 18 karat. It won't be 10 karat, but it'll have some gold in it. It won't be plated. Those are, you know, above $1,000 for one particularly like that. But they will have the clone movement inside. And they are made extremely close to the real deal. And just by looking without magnification, you probably won't be able to tell. Not unless you know the watch extremely, extremely rare for anyone to be able to go, hey, that's an automatic fake, with these super clones that they have out there. These super fake Rolexes that are flooding the market and everyone's buying. And it really is hurting Rolex. It's hurting Rolex a great deal because they're trying to make everything more exclusive. You know, the 80s will have watches, but they won't sell them. Now, okay, this is a cloned Rolex movement. And I will take this top off. And this is a cloned Rolex movement. And I'm not sure if I can get in any further. Let me go ahead and let me try. Okay, so that's about as close as I'm going to be able to get in. So if you can look at this, this is a cloned Rolex movement. It's a very good copy, actually, from everything that I can tell. And let me be careful with this because this particular movement I do like. So I'm going to set it down right here, out of the case, and we can look at this, okay? You can't see because the bar is in the way, but let me bring it up as close as I can. Okay, so this is a super cloned 3135 found in the super cloned Rolexes, okay? Quite literally, it is hard just by looking at the watch itself to tell that it is a clone. Now, you can, especially, and you can probably see the magnification better than I can, if you look right here on the balance wheel. The balance wheel is going to be your key factor, okay? I say that because it's different than what's on the real 3135 actual Rolex movement. It is different, okay? So I'm getting in here and I'm looking at it with my magnification. Yeah, okay. Now, you can probably tell that it says 3135 here. That balance wheel is not Rolex. You can definitely tell on that. From me working on the actual Rolex movements, number one, it's a different system for the hairspring altogether. You have these two tabs right here that are not found on the actual 3135. Okay, there's a little pigtail and that's it. Now, what these two levers do on this movement is adjust speed, etc., etc. And on a real Rolex movement that does not have this, you have screw-on weights onto the balance wheel itself. You have to adjust with a special tool, okay, to speed it up and slow it down. And on the clone movement, you have tabs to be able to do that. Now, as we can hopefully spin this around to show you more of the movement itself. Shit, just use my finger. There we go. Now, if we actually look at this movement here, there are ways to tell that this is a clone. The finishing on this wheel right here doesn't look good enough. You'll see little lines protruding out on the wheel. You don't necessarily see that on the real deal. That's more of a solid color like it is with this particular real wheel right here that attaches to the reversing wheels for the spoon as it goes around to wind the watch. The reversing wheels on each side of it as well. Now that's how I can tell that's a fake. But if I'm just eyeballing this, and I had never worked on a 3135, I would assume it would be real as well. But this is the movement that goes into the super cloned Rolexes. So, you know, technically what I could do is I could take this, you know, AAA Rolex replica here, fake. I could take this and I could put a clone movement in it, and you would more or less get a super cloned Rolex. The exterior on the AAA and on the super clone is about the same, or it is the same. So the exterior doesn't matter. It's just the movement that goes on the inside, the functionality of the watch itself. Like on the Daytona, all of the functions of the real Daytona will work on a super clone. If you have a AAA clone replica watch, then all the functions on the watch itself is not going to work. That's just not going to happen. So let me flip this back over and show you once again. Okay. That's pretty close right there. That is pretty close. They did good on the polishing. Now the polishing is a little bit more rough on the clones. That's how you're going to be able to tell, is that they didn't put the detail into it as much as they should. Now I will say this, because I'm not going to knock these replicas and these super clones. I'm not going to knock them, because I mean they did a fairly good job copying the entire Rolex movement itself. And not only that, they have clone movements in 3130. They have clone movements in 3285. They got clone movements in 3235. I mean, they have a lot of variations of Rolex clone movements. And there are actually 2 companies that do these movements that are actually spending time making the movements better. Yeah, seriously. There's 2 companies in China. I'm not sure which one it is at this moment, but they're actually investing into making these clones better. And that's their whole thing, is that they want to make a perfect cloned Rolex movement. They want to make it perfect, and they are working on that. This balance wheel that was on the back of this, I have seen some clone movements already that no longer have those levers on there, and you literally have to adjust the speed of the watch just like you would with a real Rolex, and that is scary. Now the polishing is still not as good. You can still tell with certain things. There's very few functions on this 3135 clone that the real one has that this doesn't have. There's maybe 1 or 2 features in this movement that does not match the actual movement, but other than that, it's pretty scary close. And a lot of people are just wanting to buy these replicas for $1,200. They're wanting to do that simply because it sure as heck beats buying a $10,000, $20,000 watch when they get something so close. And Rolex is hurting themselves by not making it as available as they should. So they are hurting themselves a great deal doing that. And I know Rolex is continuing trying to battle these fake makers of these watches, but it's a losing battle. There'll always be another one to open up, or to be the same people reopening up under a different name. Okay, now if I can, and let me zoom this out just a little bit, what I am going to do is move this out of the way. And I have this watch right here. Now this watch is one I made. I made this watch myself. I used Rolex bracelet on it. Yes, sir, indeedy I did. And I even put a little sticker on it. I made my own little replica watch with my own personalized face. Now, it doesn't have the Rolex crown uh, on the watch itself. That's fine. That doesn't bother me. You know, I want to make a watch. This is what I made. This was one of my first times to do so, and I think I did pretty swell with it. But I do want to show you, because this is part of the video. And let me see if I can get up in here, and I don't have my glasses on. Oh boy. Okay. Where is my screwdriver? I need a more stable screwdriver. I don't want to mess that one up. Let's see. There we go. I make my little nuts and bolts as tight as I can on these little bracelets here, simply just because I don't want to lose this watch. I've mentioned it before in my past videos. I'll mention it now. Is that I'm a mortician apprentice, embalmer apprentice, funeral director apprentice, and when I'm in the OR or in the prep room, as it were, I wanted a watch that I could wear, that would be stainless steel, that would not rust, would not fall apart. It would, be of a higher caliber. Now, to me, there's nothing more higher caliber than Rolex. So, I thought I would throw one of these together. I have learned a lot more in detail as time goes on about these movements. And I'm sure the next question people are going to have, as I'm going to show you this watch running in this particular timepiece here, is would you buy one of these clone movements? Is this one of the better movements that is being faked, or made today? Would you indeed, buy one? Let me try to get this lined up. There we go. And I'm going to be honest with you. If I had to do this all over again, to build this watch, I would not buy the 3135 clone. And I have my reasons for that. There we go. Now we have the clone functioning in this watch. Let's see. It is, doing its thing. And it's just ticking away. So, would I actually buy one of these movements? And as I've said, no, I would not. When I put it on my timograph, it's very weak. I don't know how long the movement's going to last. There's a chance it could work for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Who knows? But it's it's just a weak movement. So there will have to be some work done on this movement down the road. Whereas if I was to buy a Miyota movement, or have a better caliber movement from an older watch installed that has the date that matches up with the rotor on it for automatic movement, those would last a lot longer. They were built out of better materials, and it would just be all the way better around. These movements, they look nice. I can't complain about them. As far as appearance goes, they are very pretty. They're extremely close. If you are not a jeweler or a watchmaker, you're not going to be able to tell the difference. I'll be honest with you about it. So really, that choice on whether you want to buy one of these is up to you. These movements do resonate at 28,800, and that's correct. The winding of this movement is a little grainy. It's not smooth like Rolex is. A lot of the features are exactly the same. The finishing on this watch is not as good as Rolex, but to the naked eye, you can't tell much. It looks pretty darn close. I know as far as the numbering goes, when we come back around here, Oh, no, it's right there. 3135. That's not as good as what it is on a actual Rolex watch. So you're not going to have that fine engraving like you would on Rolex. It's just not too standard. But like I said, there's 2 companies out there that's developing new movement in this particular caliber clone, where they are trying to get it as close as possible. And one day I think they will get there. I have already seen the new balance out. And like I had mentioned on the balance before, for those that do not know, you have your 2 levers here. That is not on a real Rolex. There's a little pigtail right here, and there's screw in and screw out mini weights on the balance wheel itself when it is stopped, and that's how you adjust the speed on that particular movement. So that's how you're going to tell if it's a fake or not. If you pop open the back from someone who's trying to sell you a real Rolex and you see these 2 pigtails, pass it along. You don't want it, because more than likely it's just a cheap $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 cloned watch, and you don't want that. You want a real one if you're going to be spending a lot of money on it. But I would think personally that when it comes to these clones, when it comes to a $20,000 real one and a $1,000 replica that's a step up to this, using this particular movement, then yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, who wouldn't want to buy it? I mean, honestly, you're saving a ton of money. You have something that's particularly close to it. It's very close. But you have to keep in mind, it's not real. You want the prestige of Rolex, and that is the superior craftsmanship that they're putting into their watches. And they claim that they can only do so many per year at that quality. Whereas in China, it's a lesser quality, just a few steps down, and they're just pumping them out left and right. So, like I said in my original discussion with that, Rolex is really hurting themselves because, hey, these Chinese manufacturers are, making thousands of these copies. They're extremely close at this point, and a lot of people can't tell the difference. So, yeah, who wouldn't want to go ahead and buy themselves a nice replica, because it's cheaper than buying the real thing. A lot of people can't tell the difference, and at this point, I mean, they're so close that, I can make the argument that buying a replica is better than buying the real deal, simply because, you just save all that money and you get something just a step down. So a lot of people are going to be thinking that way. It's close enough, I guess, for them. Now, for those out there that want a real Rolex, sure, save up, have one financed, do what you want to do. If you want the real deal, go out and get it. But I tell you, a lot of these people out here who have come to me and go, hey, can you make me a real Rolex? And I'm like thinking, well, sure, I can put one together for you. I can restore it. We can find one on eBay that needs some restoration. Find a nice vintage model that Rolex won't touch. You got something that looks extremely similar to the modern ones or semi-modern ones. I mean, yeah, we can do that. But it's going to cost you $2,000. And at that point, they're like, nope, I'm just going to buy a fake. Can you just put a better movement in it? And I'm like, yeah, I guess I could, sure. It's not like I manufacture the damn thing. So I don't mind doing that, or they can buy them with a better movement in them. I mean, that's not hard to do. And I'm sorry, guys, I don't have my glasses on. My optics because I'm just trying to give some content of me screwing this thing down, which I'm doing a horrible job without my glasses on. But this is my this is a daily beater, so if I scratch it, I'll just buff the scratches out later or whatever. But yeah, I mean, these people, you know, just make it better. You know, make it watertight. You know, replace my crystal. Oh, you know, this broke. Can you fix it? I really like the way it looks. And, you know, I don't mind doing that. Sure, why not? You know, I have no issue with that whatsoever. I guess I will put my optics on because that's irritating the hell out of me that I can't see this darn thing. But, yeah, I don't have an issue per se with repairing a fake one. Sure, why not? You know, just, I won't put one together out of the blue like I did this watch. Because mine does not say Rolex on it anywhere except for the sticker and the crown. And part of this bracelet is real. That's a real buckle. But yeah, okay. So I have shown you the movement that is going into the super clones. I've explained a little bit about the super clones, that they are trying to make them as real as possible at this point. That's what they're doing. They're the two companies that I know of out of the 5 or 6 that are open right now really are investing as much as they can into making them as good as possible. And I have absolutely no doubt that they will get there in the near future if they haven't already. And at that point in time, then yeah, I probably would buy a replica, simply because I can work on them, I can fix them. For the average Joe out there, he'll probably find somebody or somewhere somehow to fix theirs, you know. And like I said, the movement's weak. The clone movement is not as good as Rolex. It's weak. Okay, on a real Rolex, it can go 15 years without a service and it's still running. It can go 25 years and it still be running. Hell, I've seen them 40 years, and well, I mean, I got one from 1901 and it still runs right now. You know, I mean, the craftsmanship is unbelievable. Whereas, like I said in the clone, I give it maybe 2, 3, 4 years before you start having problems with it. Something's going to malfunction on it. And I have seen high malfunction rates on these. So, keep that in mind when you're thinking about buying a super clone. You know, is it really worth it to you? And, you know, $400, $500, $600, geez, that's a lot of money for a watch. Nowhere near $20,000 or $10,000 or $6,000, $7,000. But that's a lot of money. And for it to possibly only work 2 or 3 years, I would say it's not worth it. But boy, the allure of the way it looks sure is tempting, isn't it? And that temptation will grab a lot of people. And you know, they want the real Rolex, but they don't want to spend the money on the real Rolex. So, you know, they have that demon to battle amongst themselves as well. So anyway, this is Alabama Deep. This is showing you the cloned Rolex movement, my opinion on it, how it works, how it functions, how close it is, and you get to see it working in operation. If there's any other videos that you would like me to do and describe and show, then please like, share, subscribe, comment below, and then we'll get to it. My next video is I'm going to be putting together a brigade for a friend, and I should get started on that within a couple of days or so. So this is Alabama Deep. I will see y'all later.